Alright, let's give this a try. It has been more than a year and a few months, almost a year and a half since the last time I have published any podcast. And you might wonder, or maybe not, I don't know, you might wonder what happened. Well, many things happen. A long list of things happen. One for all, everybody knows, the Rona, the pandemic, quote unquote, ended. So everything resumed. Everything went back to quote unquote normal. What is normal? Whatever you make out of it. Anyhow, things went back to normal. So my regular corporate job started picking up faster and faster. And for me, that means that I get to travel more often. I have often business trips abroad outside of Japan, where I'm still currently living. So my time and the amount of things that I had to deal with and to do, my time decreased and the amount of things I had to do increased. So one way or the other, I had to put the microphone down. And yeah, I do regret not being able to do any other podcast. Yep. Well, this is live. I regret not being able to do any podcast, but I also, on the other hand, think that maybe there was a lot of effort for very few people that had the chance to listen to me. And well, having very little data as a support for my efforts, I thought, well, maybe I can just let the microphone down and go on and about with the things that I wanted to do. That said, what have I been doing? What happened to me in general? Yeah, I told you already, I was traveling quite often outside of Japan, and with that, my ability to actually sit down, think about a topic, and prepare something to say got basically non existent, which is fine. On the other hand, I have kept on training. Yeah, that was basically my thing. I have been very consistent. But one thing that I changed about my training is the obsessive approach that I had towards lifting and in general do any kind of workout before and then after. And before and after what? Well, last September, I decided to pull the trigger purchasing a training program for myself. Yeah, because everybody benefits from a training program. And so I have decided to get one myself. Why not? Let's give it a try. And yeah, it has been since last September that I have been very consistent following someone else's plan, which is good because being the person that I am, having a direction, having kind of a purpose or a goal in my workouts, made it so that I could be a lot more efficient and a lot more focused in one side, but also on the other side, work out a lot less, but a lot more intensively. That means that if before I was going to the gym 4, 5, sometimes 6 or 7 times a week, leaving my conditions, well, my body actually drained and exhausted, and I wasn't able to, yeah, I was able to progress, but I wasn't able to progress as much as I could have. After joining this program, I do actively work out 4 times a week, really intensely, very heavily, but I do less. And that leaves me a lot more well rested, with a chance of a lot better recovery, and with definitely better results and better progress. So that's one thing. The other thing is that being less obsessed with the fact that I had to go to the gym, I had to go to the gym, I had to lift, I had to work out, I was able to relax a little bit, which some of you might don't quite understand. But when you live in the mind of a person like me, not actually being doing something is difficult to accept. So having, as I mentioned, a program to follow allow me to take a break from the obsession of having to be doing something. So physically felt much better, but also mentally felt much better. On the other hand, what about my nutrition? I was never particularly strict. I had periods where I was more diligent, as in I had a specific amount of calories that I was supposed to hit per day with the related macronutrients, and I was pretty diligent. Now I don't have that for myself, but it doesn't mean that I'm completely deranged and I'm completely like, woohoo! Anything goes. Of course, I am mindful of what I eat, but I don't necessarily measure particularly strictly. Why? Because I have been measuring calories for some time, yes, so I do have an idea of what keeps me in the range. Now, I'm not saying that by looking at a plate, boom, there you go, I know the calories and the macros. That is not possible. But having a quote unquote boring menu for myself when I cook, I pretty much know what keeps me in the range where I want to be. So I don't need to even obsessively count and measure calories. That being said, I didn't necessarily put a goal for myself. Oh, I need to be this goal weight by this time. No, I didn't do that. I just wanted to make sure that I was pretty much stable. And actually, on the other hand, I did try to gain a little bit of weight because lifting heavy means that I want to build more muscle mass. So in my case, I was trying to gain a little bit of weight, which for me is particularly hard. Not because I don't gain weight despite what I eat, because that's bullshit. If you're in calorie surplus, you gain weight. But my idea was to try to gain weight relatively slowly and to avoid as much as possible to gain a huge amount of fat, which slowly, little by little, it is happening. But, it's always a balancing act. Of course, if I were to measure my calories a little bit more precisely and keep a more attentive eye to my macronutrients, things will probably move on faster. But on the other hand, do I really want to? Maybe not that much. Maybe not that much because that will put me in another position where I slightly obsess about it, which I don't think it's necessary at the moment for me. Or at least it's not that I don't think it's necessary, it's not my goal. I don't have a specific deadline or time goal to be at a specific body composition. I just want to be as strong as I can for my current size, and I just want to try to get again stronger, better, and to beat my records. I don't have to compare myself with anyone else. And this thought was freeing. It might sound like the usual rhetoric. Oh, you shouldn't compare yourself with anybody else because you are unique. Yeah, but come to think of it, it is truly like that. Although I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying at all that it's like, wolf done. It's useless to compare myself with anybody else, so I will not do it starting from now. Now, I'm not saying it easy. I am just saying that reaching this little awareness piece by piece is huge. It's huge because, well, we all have our eyes on the talk or on the Instagram or whatever kind of social network you want to brainwash your brain with. That's your choice. But what I'm trying to say is that the more you look at those things, or actually, the more you compare yourself with the people you see on those applications, it's just going to mess up your brain. Let me tell you one more time. You are unique in your path and in your ways. And what good can it do to you to compare yourself with people that are a million miles away and have a completely different life compared to yours? Well, it's not going to do that good because both you and the people you compare yourself with have immensely different lives. And it's not just because they, or at least they show like they have money or they're ripped or they're shredded or whatever. It's just because you and whoever you compare yourself with had an entire history that is different. You grew up doing the things that you did all the way to now. They grew up doing whatever they have been doing all the way to what you see on social networks, which is a distorted version of reality. Now, long story short, you are trying to compare apples with cars, and it doesn't make any sense. So allow me to say to you, just in case you didn't figure it out already, the more you compare yourself with anybody else, the least as good it's going to do for you. One thing that you can and you should do is compare yourself to yourself. Look back at the progress that you have done so far in whatever things in your life, career, love, fitness, health, whichever it is. You can compare yourself to yourself because that's the only quote-unquote competitor or the only benchmark that you should have, because then you understand what your direction you're having, and if you can or want or do any change,
You can, but don't compare yourself with like people, most especially on Instagram or on the talk, because that is complete nonsense. So I had this thought, and I had this thought previously. It's not that just one morning it dawned on me. I had this idea previously, and all of a sudden I was like, yeah, you know what? That does definitely make a lot of sense. And little by little, I was able to I wouldn't say completely ignore comparison with anybody, because that of course it's really difficult and it takes a level of enlightenment and requires a lot of practice. But I was able to detach myself here and there and understand that, yeah, well, thing that happened, or the success or the instant success or whatever I see around me, in all the people around me, well, it's theirs and it's fine. I have my own things. And actually, rather than always compulsively look outside and search for the greener grass outside, I should actually try to search for the greener grass inside. So try to look outwards less and look inwards more, because there's little to nothing I or you can do for whatever is around you, but there's a lot you can do for whatever is inside you. And that is what I've been trying to do. And by trying to do this, it also includes drastically reduce the consumption of content on Instagram, because I don't use any other social network. I am very old fashioned, if you want to say. So, well, an aggressive reduction in the use of Instagram. You might have noticed, but then that was one of the things. And the other thing was, yeah, try to really repeat myself like a friend would do to me, that comparing myself with somebody else was completely pointless. And I know this sounds a little bit weird, but if there's one key takeaway from this very random decision to actually upload a podcast, is that you should talk to yourself like you would talk to a friend that comes to you and asks for advice. But I'm being super serious. Well, I talk to myself and I call myself by name. And when I have stupid thoughts, I am actually saying myself, Carlo, that's stupid. And you know it. And or things like, Carlo, you know much better. And that will be exactly what I will say to anybody that will come to me for any kind of advice, if they had some similar ideas or thought similar to the ones I had. And if you really want to try to make this experiment, which, mind you, I do encourage to try, call yourself by name. And whatever kind of negative self talk that you have, imagine it's a friend coming to you and asking you advice on this. And what would you tell them? Then take that and tell that to yourself. And allow me to say this one more time. It is an experiment, right? But do it for real. Don't just think whatever you want to say. Say it to yourself. Well, you don't have to scream it to yourself, but physically say those words to yourself. Call yourself by name and give you the advice that you would give to a very good friend.
You might have noticed, if you have been listening to any of my other episodes, is that this episode is entirely decided on the spot. And I'm saying this because if you did listen to my previous episodes, you might have noticed they were pretty well organized and following a schedule, but this one doesn't. This is just right out of my mind, straight into the microphone and straight into a recording that will be published without any particular editing. I am literally lying down on my bed, staring at the ceiling, and I thought, why not? I just put something out there. It has been such a long time. So yeah, well, why not? Well, I haven't been doing anything particularly active when it comes to the world of social networks and or podcasts, because I thought my effort is a lot for the quote unquote return on the effort that I have. But then I also realized, maybe among the people that were listening to my podcasts, I was able to help maybe at least one of them. And if I did, that would have been amazing.
Although I cannot tell because I have no way to know this unless whoever received any kind of useful advice actually did text me or talk to me in reality. So yeah, that was one of the other reasons why I quite left the mic there. Apart from the fact that I was busy, and that was okay. So yeah, for whoever is listening, I just wanted to let this out there. I'm not dead. First of all, I didn't disappear. I have been taken by other things, including my own mental and physical health. So well, whatever your struggle is, if you feel like reaching out, please do reach out to me. I'm more than happy to talk. And well, I don't know if I have anything useful to tell you, I'm more than happy to share that. And if I don't, we'll find something to discuss and maybe we'll have a laugh. If you feel like reaching out, you can reach me at thecarl.fit on Instagram. Or I guess you can leave a comment wherever you listen to the podcast if you can. And if you cannot, well, though, thank you anyway for listening all the way here.